Why do most people quit too early? This book explains the real reason. If you feel stuck in life, this book might explain why. This book changed the way I handle stress, focus, and procrastination. When I first picked up The Practising Mind by Thomas Sterner, I honestly thought it would be just another typical self-help book about productivity. But as I started reading, I realized this book is very different. It doesn't teach you how to hack success or reach your goals faster. Instead, it teaches you something much deeper: how to control your mind while you are working toward anything in life. The main idea of the book is simple but powerful. Most of our stress, frustration, and lack of progress comes from focusing too much on the outcome instead of the process. We are always thinking, when will I finish? Now, why am I not successful yet? Or why is this taking so long? And this mindset slowly kills our motivation. The author explains that real peace and real growth begin when you learn to enjoy the process of doing the work, not just the result. While reading this book, I felt like someone was finally explaining why I sometimes feel overwhelmed even when I am trying my best. It made me reflect on my own habits, my impatience, and how often I quit mentally before I actually quit physically. What makes this book truly interesting is how practical and relatable it feels. Thomas Sterner talks a lot about impatience, and he describes it as the biggest enemy of progress. According to him, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they cannot tolerate the discomfort of slow progress. This hit me hard because it's something we all experience. When we start a new habit, a new project, or a new goal, we want results immediately. The book explains that mastery is built in the small, boring, repetitive moments of practice that most people try to escape. Sterner encourages readers to train the mind like a muscle. Show up every day, do the work calmly, stop judging your progress every 5 minutes, and stop waiting to feel motivated. Thing I personally loved about this book is that it doesn't promote perfection. Instead, it promotes patience, presence, and consistency. It teaches you that if you can learn to stay mentally calm during the process, you can literally improve at anything: studying, working, creating content, building a business, or even improving your mental health. Overall, I would describe The Practising Mind as a mindset transformation book rather than just a productivity book. It doesn't give you flashy techniques. It gives you something more valuable: mental discipline. After reading this book, you start noticing how often your own mind distracts you, rushes you, and pressures you unnecessarily. And once you become aware of that, you can actually begin to change it. I think this book is perfect for anyone who struggles with procrastination, overthinking, perfectionism, lack of consistency, or self-doubt. It's not a book you just read and forget. It's a book that slowly changes how you approach life. If you truly apply its lessons, you don't just become more productive, you become more peaceful while working toward your goals. This book doesn't teach you how to reach success faster. It teaches you how to become the kind of person who eventually cannot fail. Stayed with me long after I finished the book. Because when you really think about it, most of us are obsessed with speed. We want quick results, fast growth, instant success. But this book challenges that mindset completely. It says the real transformation doesn't happen in your results. It happens in your identity. You don't win because you reach the goal faster. You win because you became mentally stronger while walking toward it. One of the most powerful lessons from this book is that progress is invisible at the beginning. You might be practicing every day, showing up consistently, trying your best, and still feel like nothing is changing. And that's exactly where most people quit. But the practicing mind teaches you to stay calm inside that discomfort, to trust the process even when the results are silent. Because growth is happening internally first, in your patience, in your discipline, in your emotional control. And once that internal shift happens, success becomes a natural outcome, not a forced chase. The book also made me realize something uncomfortable but honest. We often create our own suffering. We rush ourselves. We criticize ourselves. We mentally punish ourselves for not being there yet. But mastery doesn't come from pressure. It comes from presence. When you learn to focus on the current step instead of the entire staircase, the journey becomes lighter, clearer, and more sustainable. That's why this book feels less like motivation and more like mental training. What I personally love about this philosophy is that it removes fear from the process. When you stop being obsessed with proving yourself and start being committed to practicing, failure loses its power. Mistakes become part of the path. Slow days become part of the path. Even doubt becomes part of the path. And that's how you become unstoppable. Not because you never fall, but because you never emotionally quit. If there's one thing this book truly gives you, it's awareness. Awareness of how your mind works, awareness of how often you rush yourself, and awareness of how much unnecessary pressure you carry every day. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You start approaching your goals with more patience, more calm, and more clarity. You stop fighting the process, and you start trusting it. If you find value in this review, and you enjoy thoughtful self-development content like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need this message today. Because growth doesn't happen overnight, but it always begins with awareness.